On this week's Flame Central, Liberty football has finally found its quarterback. We'll introduce you to him, and a former Flame shares his story.
Plus, a Liberty volleyball standout describes her journey back from a terrible injury. All that and more coming up on this edition of Flame Central.
Is it football game week yet? Oh, we are so close now to some football this season. But hey, it was game week for one Liberty team. We'll get to that here in just a bit. Welcome inside the Flame Central Studios. Alongside Rhett McGibbon, I'm Matt Warner.
Yeah, we've got a great show for you this week, and we start with the most pressing question on Liberty's campus, and it revolves around a story that we've been focusing on for weeks. Who will be the Flames starting quarterback in 2022?
Yeah, Hugh Freeze finally provided us that answer this week, and it'll be the veteran Charlie Brewer under center for LU. Our Emily Austin joins us now with more. And Emily, what factored into this decision for the Flames?
Pretty easy answer there. One word, experience. And let me tell you something about the new QB1 on the mountain. He has plenty of it. Take a look at his decorated football resume. He won a state championship back in high school with Lake Travis and also set a national high school record with a 77.4 completion rate. His first college stop was at Baylor University. His 9,700 yards and 65 touchdowns is good for second all-time on the Bears list. He then made a quick stop at Utah in 21 before landing at Liberty last spring. Ever since, he's improved more and more in this Flames offense and ultimately won the QB job.
I just think he's separated himself by a small margin. I think it comes down to just what we saw in the two scrimmages, particularly the last one, and probably there's part of me that knows he's done it before and want to see if we can rekindle a type of year that he had, at Baylor.
I mean, it's always good to have experience, right? That never hurts you. So having different starts in different leagues, I think has helped me a lot of just, understanding defense and just how the ebbs and flows of a game go. I think until you get in the middle of a game, you kind of, it's just different.
There's no substitute for experience, especially playing quarterback. When you've been in those wars, you've been in different environments of a competitive nature and different types of games you can draw from your experience. And if you've learned from it properly, it'll help you make quicker decisions. And making quicker decisions as a quarterback actually slows the game down.
Guys, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. There are some pretty big shoes to fill in this QB spot after what Malik Willis did the last 2 seasons here at Liberty. So I asked Brewer if he feels any extra pressure replacing Malik Willis, and he said no. I've been in some high-pressure situations my entire career, so I'm up for the challenge of being the best quarterback possible for this team. Looking forward to seeing him take the field against Southern Miss on September 3rd.
Yeah, exciting times for Flames Nation with a well-experienced QB1 in place. But who exactly is Charlie Brewer? Well, we sat down recently with a new starting quarterback to find out how exactly he came to love the sport of football.
My name's Charlie Brewer. Grew up in Austin, Texas. Really got into football through my brother. Growing up, watching him play. We played at the same high school, but he's a little bit older, so getting to watch him through my childhood kind of propelled me to want to play, and the rest is history from there. Just been playing ever since. I've had my fair share of ups and downs, and just being able to ride that wave, not getting too high, not getting too low. I think I've done that and came out the other side of it. Now ended up here at Liberty. I just thought it was very intriguing to come play for Coach Freeze. Kind of the ideal offense that I was looking for. Get to come in and throw the ball a lot. Go get it! Sometimes I feel like you just know, if it feels right, it feels right, and, it felt right, and I'm glad I'm here.
Can't wait to see Brewer sling it this season. Well, Flames fans got a sneak peek of the team this past Saturday at Fan Appreciation Day. Pictures, autographs were part of the festivities, but so too was an open scrimmage. The fans' first chance to see the 2022 Flames. And one thing they hope to see this year is an improvement on the offensive line. New O-line coach Chris Klanakis is leading the charge, and he had this message to his guys following the scrimmage.
Big softly, carry a big stick. That's right. Speak softly, carry a big stick. No talking, just quiet intensity. Start on the -1. We started on the -1. We take it all the way down. Okay? Score. Okay? 13-play drive. A lot of first downs. A great focus in there, man. Great focus. Okay? Yeah, there's mistakes today. You know what? That's why it's still practice. That's why we're still going to practice for 2 more weeks before we play for real. But we keep getting better every day. We keep getting better every day. Every 86,400 seconds, you get better. We don't waste a second, man. We don't waste a second. We take advantage of all 86,400. Guys have worked too hard. We've done too much to get where we're at, but we got to keep climbing. Got to keep climbing, all right? Get on 3, get it on me. 1, 2, 3, unit.
You want to see that offensive line push some people around this fall? Of course you do. Watch it in person at Liberty home games. You can get your season tickets while they remain. There's only 1,000 left. The first home game is September 10th against UAB. BYU, Virginia Tech also on the schedule. Go to lufootball.com today to get yours.
Yeah, can't wait for the season to start, and also can't wait for week 1 of the NFL schedule. There are currently multiple Flames vying for a spot on an NFL roster with preseason winding down. Malik Willis continues to trend upwards for the Tennessee Titans with a touchdown and 5 carries for 42 yards in this last game. Kevin Shaw collected 2 receptions for 22 yards, while Story Jackson registered 2 tackles. Making some serious noise as of late is Deron Lowe. In the Rams' last game versus Houston, Lowe totaled 6 tackles and had a great pass breakup on what looked to be a touchdown pass to the Texans' camp in the corner. Exciting times for these guys.
Yeah, from Flames in the NFL to a former Flame who spent some time in the league, Leroy Kennard did not have an easy road to Liberty, and he certainly suffered his share of hardship while here. But it was those experiences and the mentorship of a coach that helped lead him to the role he currently holds.
First down 10, 15-yard line, I backfield.
I'll never forget, I told my mom, that's what I want to do. I want to play football on television.
Leroy Kennard loved playing college football.
5-yard line, touchdown. Over the middle, complete to Kennard. He's at the 35. He could go all the way.
But it was a dream that almost didn't happen.
The 30-yard line.
Growing up in Central Florida in the 1970s and 80s, Leroy played everything. Football, baseball, soccer, you name it, he played it.
I didn't care about English class. I didn't care about math class. I didn't care about that. I cared about sports. In my mind, that's all that there was.
And when the time came to leave high school and play in college, the choice for this Florida kid was easy.
I was going to Miami or I was going to Florida. There really wasn't anything else.
But those dreams didn't come to fruition. Neither the University of Miami nor the University of Florida wanted Leroy. That's when he stepped away from football and enrolled at Bob Jones University to focus on his studies. A year later, Liberty called.
The coaches called me and asked me to send them some film. They got back with me about 2 weeks later and said, dude, you got a full ride. I was like, okay, I'm out.
Blitz coming, the give to Kennard. Penalty marker down, 5. Touchdown.
I went up there and I loved it. You know, growing up as an African-American, faith is big in our community, and it was in our household. And I always believed in God my entire life. I couldn't think of a better environment for me to play and to, you know, express my faith. I thought it was perfect for me.
See the interior lineman.
Then head coach Sam Ratigliano designed the perfect system for a player like Leroy.
And Kennard showed that speed.
But it was the off-the-field mentoring he received that he treasures most.
Coach Sam, you know, kind of took me under his wing, and that was very influential, you know, for me. Both my parents were older. So my father died when I was 16. And my mother, we didn't expect her to pass, but she had a massive heart attack, you know, when I was 19 years old. And so now you're in a world by yourself. Just think about, you know, the simple things like, where do you go for Christmas? You know, when you don't have a home. And so having to deal with that right away was extremely difficult emotionally. And having someone to talk to that I thought was very wise and someone that I can run things by It was a godsend.
Leroy graduated and took what he learned from Coach Sam to the NFL. The New York Jets offered Leroy a free agent contract, but thanks in part to an injury, his time in the pros would be short-lived.
The thing that shocked me is how fast those people were. So those old moves that worked in high school and worked at college, that ain't no chance.
When Leroy's playing days were over, he took a job as a pharmaceutical rep, but his heart just wasn't in it.
Now I'm helping people with diabetes and heart attack and stuff like that, but it wasn't who I was. I started praying, and literally about 2 weeks later, someone told me about this job. And so I come down and interview for the job, and I get hired. And I said, you know what, I'll do this for a little bit, and I'll go back into pharmaceuticals.
Leroy Kennard is now back in Central Florida as the head football coach at the First Academy in Orlando. But for Leroy, it's not just about coaching, it's more about a calling.
And I look at what God has put in my heart, and I see it as a purpose. I am trying to help kids become better husbands, better fathers, and godly husbands, godly fathers. I get an opportunity to do what Coach Sam did for me. Some people are pastors and they can do it in the pulpit. Some people in the missionary field and they can reach people that way. But this is my pulpit. This is my missionary field.
Thanks to our John Pratt for producing that story. Well, the sports season officially kicked off this past week on Liberty's campus with women's soccer hosting ETSU. It was a wet day at Osborne Stadium, but that didn't cool off Liberty's attack. In the 5th minute, Rachel Deruby with a beautiful strike to the upper left corner would give LU a 1-0 lead. Second half action, a penalty would be awarded to the Flames. McKinley Burkett, who's familiar with penalty kicks, puts the Flames up 3-0. Time winding down in the contest, and Grace Spade would ice the cake. A rocket top shelf would make it 4-0 LU, and that would be the final, with the Flames claiming their first win on the year. Hey, coming up, a devastating injury would lead to a life-changing realization for one Liberty volleyball player.
Plus, coming off a national title game appearance, we preview the upcoming season for Liberty field hockey. More Flame Central after this.
Does education mean a room with 4 walls, a desk, and a PowerPoint lecture?
Or is it something bigger?
What if it's the people beside you, 1 chair away or 1 ocean away?
What if it's the chance to learn from your mistakes, as well as your victories?
And the push to keep going either way.
What if it's the freedom to reach for bigger things without missing the little ones in between?
For each of us, education looks a bit different.
Because we're each a bit different.
But at Liberty, we think education might just mean something big enough for all of us. That's Liberty to us.
What will Liberty be to you?
At Liberty University, we don't just believe everyone should have access to higher education, we make it happen. That's why we are offering our Middle America Scholarship to help families like yours by providing over $20,000 over the course of 4 years. Money should not hold you back from the life-changing experience at Liberty University. Find out if you qualify for the Middle America Scholarship today.
Welcome back to the show. Adversity, it's just part of life. At some point, we all face trying times. And for athletes, one major form of adversity is injury. Liberty volleyball player Julia Mangum knows this all too well. But it's what she did with that adversity that brought her peace, purpose, and a new perspective as her team takes the court this season. Julia Mangum was a fast-rising freshman on the Liberty women's volleyball team during the spring 2021 season. In fact, she was one of the top first-year players in the entire ASUN conference.
She's the reigning ASUN freshman of the week.
But all that would change near the end of the season on the road at Bellarmine.
I remember distinctly before I got injured feeling super kind of off. Like everything I was doing was off and I didn't know why. Was trying to work through it. Trinity was hitting outside and I was coming in to run a fake middle play. And then Maya set over me and I was coming down to land and I remember jumping pretty tight to the net and thinking before I landed, oh, like this could be bad. Like I remember thinking, I'm kind of tight to the net, like I hope I don't land on anyone. As soon as I landed on the girl's foot on the other side, and it just turned my foot ever so slightly to where the force just went through my leg and my tibia and fibula just folded from under me. And I just remember the noise snapping. I remember looking at Shannon when I was on the floor and saying, it's been a good run. Just like recognizing I was gonna be done with volleyball for a while. And that part of my life that had been so important to me for so long was going to be put on hold.
It would be easy for an athlete to sink into depression or despair when facing an injury. But Julia's family and friends encouraged her to look to Scripture to find purpose amidst the chaos.
I remember thinking, okay, where in the Bible can I relate? Like, where is there a story of hurt that was redeemed? And so I thought of Job, and I thought of the story of Job, and obviously Job lost so much more than I could ever imagine. But what I was drawn to in the story of Job was Job 121 and the second half of the verse, because it says, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, blessed be the name of the Lord. And that was just so encouraging for me, but also super convicting and super challenging, because I had to ask myself, you know, Julia, are you willing to say, blessed be the name of the Lord, even though he just took away something that meant so much to you? People care what you have to say about God when you're struggling. And when we're at our best and when we're at our good moments, people are like, oh, cool, like you believe in God, like that's awesome, he's really blessing you right now. But then when all those things may be taken away and maybe there's pain in your life, maybe there's hurt in your life, people are looking at you and they're like, well, what are you gonna say about God now? Like, is he still just as good as he was? Do you still believe what you said you do? And so in those moments where God takes things away, or he chooses to prune, or chooses to put us through trials, we're really given the opportunity to evaluate, okay, do I actually believe what I say I believe about the character of God?
With a fresh perspective, Julia would begin to look for ways to contribute to her team from the sideline.
Most people define contribution as statistics and how many kills am I getting, how many digs am I getting. Like, that makes me a good player and that makes me a good teammate. But One of my old trainers often reminded me that what we bring to the table as athletes and as individuals is who we are and what we believe and the encouragement that we can bring. And so my identity in Christ is what I offer to this team when my ability to play volleyball fails. My identity in Christ and the love that I can show my team through him still remains because God still remains. Obviously that role, stepping into it, not being able to play, is hard for an athlete, it's hard for a competitor. But one of the many blessings of being a believer and of the grace of God is that he gives purpose and meaning to even the most frustrating circumstances. And so yes, I was frustrated I wasn't on the court, but I was able to have joy because I knew it wasn't purposeless. I knew God had a plan for me being on the side, and I knew that I was still able to love my team and serve my team. And that's ultimately what matters more.
Almost 18 months after her injury, Julia is now making her return to the court. And she does so with an understanding that her purpose isn't defined by what happens on the volleyball court.
Coming in as a freshman and coming into collegiate sports, you picture what your career is going to look like. You're like, I want to have this award, I want to get this accolade, I want to be remembered as this type of player, I want to be an All-American. You have all these expectations for what your season is going to look like or your career is going to look like. And what the Lord did through this injury was simply say, Julia, that's not the point. It's never been the point. Like, he reminded me of that through my injury. And so I think now, God, even if I'm not the player I was, even if I don't accomplish X, Y, and Z while I'm at Liberty, even if I graduate and I never put another stat in the stat book, God's character is not dependent on my emotions or my circumstances. He is still good, he is still my Father, he is still sovereign, and he remains the same.
Thanks to our Ian Hazard for producing that story. Gotta love these high character kids that Liberty brings in. You see stories like this countless times where the athlete makes this just as big of an impact on the sidelines as they do on the court.
Yeah, I think back to a quote from a story we did years ago where somebody said, don't waste your trials. And you think about Julia, she certainly didn't. One of the toughest times in her life, and yet she grew so much as a person, grew so much spiritually, and she's never going to be the same because of what she learned during that difficult time.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait to see her back on the court here shortly. All right, let's turn our attention to field hockey. It was an historic run for the Flames last year, making it all the way to the national championship. But now LU turns the page as they prepare for the upcoming season, and they're expected to do well, being named preseason favorite in the Big East.
Yeah, not only that, Daniela Rhodes named preseason Big East Offensive Player of the Year, and Bethany Dykema preseason Big East Defensive Player of the Year. Rhett caught up with some of the Flames to get their thoughts on the upcoming season.
Success brings expectations, and expectations typically bring distractions. So it was a blessing in disguise for Liberty Field Hockey, having to do their preseason training in Virginia Beach due to field upgrades.
We had an opportunity to bond in a different way that we never would have had we been in Lynchburg. And yeah, it would have been great to be here, but I just think that was, the Lord's provision even in that, something that was on our heart of really bringing the group together, and we feel we were able to do that in a special way, being away from home.
Coach did a good job with putting up the older people with the freshmen and stuff to get a better connection and let them know how everything works here. We had also some free time, so we're all hanging out together, playing games together, and I think it's a very good foundation for the season.
A foundation that was already solid with so many players returning from a year ago, but the Flames don't see that as their biggest strength as they enter non-conference play.
I think our greatest strength is in our numbers. I think we'll arguably have, if not the best team we've had on paper. Obviously when you go out there, it's not about what you have on paper, it's about what you do with those pieces as everything's coming together. But I think we're fast, we're gritty, but our strength is in our numbers and in our unity.
This team is actually one of the deepest teams I've been on since I've been at Liberty. We have a lot of returners coming back with a lot of experience, but we also have some freshmen and some transfers bringing a lot of just that new fire on the team, and I think that we'll be able to roll a lot of people in.
It would be easy with so much depth and talent to have their eyes solely focused on getting back to the national championship. But that's a slippery slope, one the team is actively trying not to focus on.
what happened in the past, it is the past. We're like new season, new teams. Every team has new players, new coaching staff, etc. So the coaches did very well with not focusing on the national championship. So we take it day by day, get every day 1% better.
Focus on where our feet are right now, focus on today. We don't want to look ahead and look at the next opponent or, the Big East championship, because we want to focus on what can we do today to make ourselves 1% better. And if we do that and handle that, Big East will fall and, championships will fall.
Still to come, are you not getting enough Flames Central in your life? Well, check out the Flames Central podcast. We'll tell you how right after the break. You're watching Flames Central.
To Shedler, untouched. Oh, goodness, what a sack. Says, boys, that's how we do it. 10, 5, right about. Yes, touchdown, Liberty.
Your future career will ask you to analyze, assess, implement, react. Make smart decisions in a split second. With the Liberty University degree, you'll be ready because your first day on the equipment comes long before your first day on the job. Get ready to take on tomorrow, today.
Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the show. When people think about signs that fall's approaching, they might think about the leaves turning or the temperatures cooling, but there's also another sign.
Pumpkin spice lattes.
No.
That would be another.
Yeah.
No, but the sign we're talking about is when the Flames Central podcast returns, and it's finally coming back on Monday. Emily, Joe Yacht, and myself talking all the top headlines involving Liberty Athletics. This week, we'll get you ready for the Flames football opener, and we're going to hold our 3rd annual Flames Fantasy Draft. We're doing it on the podcast this year. So download, subscribe, find the Flames Central podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so glad the fall semester has started up here at Liberty. That also means a lot of actual games being played.
Yes.
Rhett, outside of football, the team you're most excited about this fall is?
Oh, I've been pumping their tires for 3 years. It's men's soccer.
Okay.
That big freshman class a couple years ago, very talented. I think this year, their junior season, it's all going to come together.
Maybe it's because I just saw the Julia Mangum piece. I'm excited for this volleyball team. I think they're going to be better than the experts predicted they would be. All right, hey, don't forget LibertyFlamesCentral.com for any stories you may have missed. He's Rhett, I'm Matt. We'll plan on seeing you right back here next time.